Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. This is the second hour of Daily Brief, and at this time, as I mentioned earlier, we will be speaking on matters SMEs in Africa, also on building on sustainable and lasting solutions for SMEs and businesses in Kenya and in Africa at large. We will also be speaking about the impact of COVID-19 that has, of course, affected different sectors in the country. And with me in studio, we have guests who will be talking about that. That is Eunice and Ronald. But just for the sake of our viewers, I would love you to introduce yourself.
Okay. So let me go
first. We start with the lady. Ladies first.
Yeah. Yes. So my name is Eunice Mudhoni Kimani. I am grateful to be here today. I work for Strathmore University Business School. I'm the head of entrepreneurial programs. Yes, in Strathmore Business School.
Okay, all right.
I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and my name is Ronald Bosi. I'm the managing partner of Ronald's East Africa LLP. It's an audit, tax, and advisory firm. Yeah, and I'm glad to be part of this forum.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And now, from what we got is that we are expecting to have a webinar on the 10th of December. Probably, Ronald, you can tell us more about the event.
Okay. The webinar that is happening this week on Thursday, on the 10th of December, is about building sustainable and lasting businesses in Africa. And this topic is brought about because of if you look at the COVID-19 and the effects it has had on the businesses, it's been very disastrous. Most SMEs have shut down. But as I say, that this COVID-19 pandemic is not the only one that has hit SMEs very hard. We've had other economic disruptions, like political disruptions, the climate change that affects African businesses. And this, I will term them as the pre-existing conditions. There are also pre-existing conditions that if you, coupled by these economic disruptions, it has a very serious effects in terms of the SME's existence or sustainability, especially in the Kenyan market and Africa at large. And that's the basis of this forum that is coming, the webinar that is coming up on Thursday. How can then SMEs position themselves in a more strategic way so they're able to withstand these disruptions? How can they overcome the pre-existing conditions in terms of structuring themselves in a manner that will make them more sustainable and creating some strong foundation blocks that even if there is a pandemic or even if there is market changes or economic disruptions, they are able to withstand. So that is the basis or the background of this webinar that is coming up this Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Eunice, probably we do know that a lot of SMEs and small businesses and other businesses closed down due to COVID-19 pandemic. Some have also gone down business-wise in terms of production and all. And this continues to be part of our lives probably until next year when businesses will probably rise up. We also do know that there are people who close down shops, and some are still struggling with that. Probably we can talk about the realities of COVID-19 that entrepreneurs and business people have continued to face throughout this season.
Yeah, actually, having worked with SMEs for quite some time in Strathmore, of course, we have an entrepreneurship center that trains and empowers the SMEs.
Right.
We have now realized that a lot of SMEs have either shut down or downsized.
Yeah.
A lot of them are going through very hard times, and what we can only do is actually to keep them, encouraged and to look for areas we can support them.
Yeah.
Because as a university, we care, and what we are doing is to tell them, can they come together, discuss as SMEs? If you look at this webinar that we are planning, it's actually SMEs speaking to SMEs.
Okay.
Some of the speakers, Ronald being one of the speakers, and even the other speakers that will be speaking there, are SMEs that have succeeded. And what are some of the things people need to do, SMEs need to do, for them to be able to stay afloat, even during difficult times?
Sure.
Can they think of diversification? If one business was not able to, to survive, they should not be discouraged and go back home.
Exactly.
They should think about other opportunities, and that is what we shall be discussing. Other opportunities that are still there, because you can't just close and go home. There are other opportunities. But how will you get those opportunities if you don't participate in workshops like this, in webinars, in networking forums like this? That's why we are telling them to come. We will always get them a solution.
Definitely, and we will be talking about the business modes that different entrepreneurs out there can take up. And probably, Ronald, you could also clarify for us, is this the first time that you're holding such a webinar, and why exactly for the African countries?
Yeah, this is the first time we are holding this webinar, especially in partnership with the Strathmore University. Of course, Strathmore University has had several webinars and conferences and forums to be able to empower SMEs. But this is a partnership of its kind between Ronald's LLP and the Strathmore to ensure that this webinar is a success. The reason why this webinar is focused for the African SMEs is because from a global perspective, there are corporates or companies that have lasted more than 100 years. They've been there big time. You look at Colgate, you look at some Coke, Coca-Cola. They've been there for many years, and they grow bigger and bigger. And you realize that it's not only the product that a good SME should have in order to withstand the changes or the global dynamics. You also need certain understanding that the African SMEs probably, especially from my consultant perspective, I believe is the missing link between these African SMEs and the global SMEs. The first thing is they need to develop that understanding on what does it take in order to build a business that lasts generations that are there. So understanding is very critical. And then the second aspect of it is what are the proactive measures they need to take in order to ensure that long-term sustainability. So this is the reason why we're focusing for these African SMEs, so they are more enlightened. And African SMEs needs to also seems to have some unique conditions or a unique environment as opposed to the global SMEs. Because if you look at the other developed worlds, there are proper governance structures, their proper environment is more predictable and all that, as opposed to the African continent, whereby there's a lot of disruptions. So this topic is this webinar is actually aimed towards how can these SMEs overcome these environmental challenges, at the same time have structural formation that is able to help them to last just more than a season or a generation.
And Ronald, you did mention about some of the big brands that have been there for years. They haven't closed shop yet. And someone else would probably ask what really matters in terms of how a business can stay longer. What are we looking at? Is it a brand name that also matters, or what exactly happens?
Yeah, I think from you look at the global perspective, and there's a lot of literature that has been written there. There is a Built to Last, a book that has been written to enable entrepreneurs build businesses that actually last longer. But you can borrow some tips from it. But looking at it, especially from an African perspective, a Kenyan perspective, one of the biggest gaps that SMEs have that they might not last longer is governance. So having a proper governance structures in place is very critical. And governance means how is the company structured? You'll find that a company that is actually one-man show, that are actually operated by just a one individual understanding or the founder's understanding, and that there is no passing of knowledge from this entrepreneur or founder of business to the next generation is actually a remedy for failure. So lack of proper governance structures, lack of mentorship to the other people. The other aspect of it is leadership. The African SMEs have a big gap in terms of leadership, in terms of how do you bring people together, individuals together, pass the knowledge and the know-how to them so that they're able to take the business from one generation to another. And the induction process that is there, the learning aspect of it, that is also very critical. The other aspect that also is a big gap from African SMEs is innovation. And you just realize that there are companies, if you look at from a global perspective, initially we used to talk about Kimbo as a product, and everybody knew the Kimbo cooking oil. But no longer Kimbo exists today. But the company is actually has grown much bigger and much stronger even with the passage of time. So what we want to talk about this Thursday is how can SMEs just not only rely on the product. It's not only the product. It's also the structural formation of the company, the processes that are in place, and also the understanding of the directors and the governance structures that have been put into place in order to pass the business know-how from one generation to the other. And the other aspect of it is innovation and adaptability.
Yeah.
How can an SME mutate from one generation to another? How has it put up innovation culture within the team members or the staff members so that they are able to adapt to the environmental changes? During this COVID-19, there's a lot of SMEs, as I say, that are going to shut down, but there are so many other businesses that are sprouting up. Others have actually been able to adapt to the situation, come up with the new products that are actually resonating with the current situation. That kind of having an innovation department within an organization so that we are able to observe what are the market changes and adjust accordingly, rather than just saying, oh, my product is no longer needed in the market, I'm going to shut shop. There must be that kind of adaptability and resiliency in order to change with the times.
All right. And let me just hook in, Eunice, on this one. I do know that you've interacted with different business people out there. And let's just now talk about the business models that you mentioned earlier. With the pandemic, of course, despite people closing shop, we've also seen people being so innovative, creative, just coming up with new businesses. And probably this is because there has been more time to focus on a few things. And just going forward, then what needs to be done, at least to build a strong foundation in businesses in the near future?
Yes, and as we talk about the modes that people are using, SMEs are quickly adopting to. Look at the SMEs. They used to have meetings physically, like the way we are doing the meeting now. And some of them have branches, you know, like him, he has branches in East Africa. He's now not able to quickly travel there. So what are they doing? They are now meeting online. What are they also doing? They are also selling their products online. A lot of SMEs actually were used to, you know, word of mouth, you know, traveling somewhere, you know, calling for a physical meeting. They had not thought of selling online, you know, putting their products online there for people to see. And of course, that even comes with more advantage because you are now able to sell globally. You are now able to even attract more customers than limiting yourself with just around Kenya or around the country where you are. And so when we are talking about innovation, we are talking about doing business, you know, based on what is happening right now. Doing meetings through webinars. That's why we are not calling all these people. We are targeting like 1,000 SMEs across Africa. But we are saying it is also easy for them to just log in and, you know, be able to network, be able to discuss, ask questions, you know. We'll put them in different groups, you know, discussion groups, and they'll be able to discuss, get to exchange experiences, get to exchange contacts, and that way they might even build business linkages.
So basically this is even a positive factor on the online communication. Nowadays people are traveling to China on a virtual mode. We are traveling to Dubai on just a virtual mode. So what you're saying is that the online communication has been beneficial for entrepreneurs.
It's actually an added advantage. So let's not look at the situation right now and just think we are done, you know, like there is no hope. A lot of people that were able to seize the opportunity and to look at what is happening, they've made a lot of money. They did not just get discouraged. They started doing something. They have created new business ideas. They have increased their market share. They have gotten, you know, new partners in their businesses that are not necessarily in the same country. So if you look at it positively, yes, it comes with a lot of positive, you know, positive results.
And probably just going forward, Eunice, come next year or in the years to come, probably life will go back to normal and there will be more physical meetings. What would you say about that? Would you like the same online chat to continue? Or what, as an entrepreneur, what's your take on that?
As an entrepreneur, and let me actually even talk about on behalf of Strathmore University Business School. you know, we did not again have a lot of online programs. But right now, almost every program, including the undergraduate, the masters, you know, the entrepreneurial programs, they are all online. And we are saying, even after COVID, with or without COVID, because there could even be other pandemics, online programs will continue. And even for the SMEs, we are telling them, this being a new way, a new normal, whether there will be COVID or not, the online communication, the online business should always continue. So it's an added advantage. We shall continue with physical when things are okay, and we shall also continue with online. So that is actually double blessing, because they'll be able to do business online, they'll still be able to do business physically. Yeah.
And Ronald, just talking about the webinar that is about to happen on the 10th, of course, you will be talking to different people from different countries doing different things, some in business, some who want to start business. And for sure, we cannot lack to say that some of the businesses have recorded a positive impact, you know, in their businesses, and they have also tried to stay in the business. Probably, what can you tell them so that they can continue being in it?
Yeah, thank you. The businesses, I agree with you, that have managed to innovate and adjust to the situation, and they are being very profitable now. Of course, I just met a colleague, a client of mine, who was actually, the turnover has almost gone triple during COVID-19. So there are those who've been smiling all the way to the bank. Those retail businesses also have been smiling all the way to the bank. What I just want to advise those businesses that are doing very well. They need to see how can they incorporate this survival strategy into their long-term strategy, so that the proper, and what kind of lessons can they pick from this pandemic, so that they inculcate them in their culture, so that it becomes like a business strategy. If it was innovation and adaptability and change management, then they need to build or incorporate that in part of their strategy, so that in future they don't go back into the loss-making in places. So that is what I want to advise them, to incorporate what they have learned, the lessons they have learned during COVID in their business strategy, and it becomes part of the long strategy. If it's adaptability and completely changing the business model as fast as possible, then that must be part of their culture for future sustainability.
And then there's the other lot now that has lost hope. There is also another lot that is looking forward to probably start a business.
So the lot that has lost hope, I'll just tell them that the sky is not falling, and the sky has not fallen. We are still in this pandemic. We don't know how long it's going to continue. We better pick up the broken pieces, put them together, go to business, of course, by maintaining the measures, the precautions that are necessary. As I said, it is a difficult, it's a balancing act. As we fight, as we push, as we continue to keep safe. So we have to take up the broken pieces, put up, let's appear for business, let's see what kind of changes we need to do, let's be more courageous enough and face the reality or the current situation, because we don't know for how long it's going to sustain. Of course, there is a vaccine, but we don't know when it will trickle into, in Kenya, or even it's going to affect our lives. So it might take long. So we can't just be there and make a pity party. We have to pick up the broken pieces and move forward. For those who wants to go into business or start business, there has never been a better time like this to start a business. And any company that is begun during this time is a company that will go on for a long time, because they are able to exercise the precautions that are there. And of course, entrepreneurs are risk takers. You never, you should not be threatened by the environmental changes. The environmental dynamics are going to be there for a long time. The elections is coming 2022. It's not a time for us to fold businesses and go home. It's a time to really be resilient, to be more focused, to be more strategic, and push our business forward.
And Eunice, when Ronald says that there's no better time like this to start a business, maybe someone watching at home is wondering, with this pandemic, where do I get the capital from? Now, capital, of course, comes out as a great challenge for business starters. And probably you could tell us, how can then SMEs be supported, and how can the business environment at least be changed to have a touch of flow?
Yeah, and as I agree with him, I want to say that even for the startups, the ones that are just thinking, actually, a lot of people have lost jobs. What is the alternative? When you lose a job, the next alternative is to employ yourself.
Yeah.
You employ yourself because you want to become an entrepreneur. And so, number one, I would tell them to come to Strathmore and learn, you know, how to become an entrepreneur, of course, to set up a business. There are as many business ideas as there are people in the world.
Yeah.
So ideas are there. And some of the ideas, you actually don't need starting up capital. There are ideas you can just start. There are a lot of money. Actually, there are a lot of banks and financial institutions, and even the government, even right now through the Chamber of Commerce, you know, there is a lot of money that is outside there for the people that would want, even for the youth, for the people who would want to do business, so long as they have good ideas.
Okay.
There are a lot of even other SMEs that would be willing to hold the hand of a startup somewhere. So long as somebody is ready to get started,
All right.
there is always a connection somewhere.
Okay.
If you are ready, there is a connection. You can always get, the money is there. The problem is, are you ready? Do you have an idea? And yes, the ideas are there.
All right. Unfortunately, our time is up, but you spoke for us on, and you said your parting shot that there is always a way out. Thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, for your time. That has been Ronald and Eunice from the Strathmore Business Center. Thank you so much. That was just on matters SMEs in Africa, and be sure to join the webinar on the 10th of this month. Thank you so much for watching. Much more coming up at exactly 1 p.m. on Newscut. I'll be with you in just a few minutes.